say this, I'll pick it up after the show. Hi, hey everybody. How are ya? Welcome to Lunch Break with ATI. I'm Cindy Collins, one of the co-founders of Actors Theater of Indiana, the professional resident theater company at the Center for the Performing Arts right here in good old Carmel, Indiana, USA. And today we have a very, don't get too excited. We have a very easy.
You're scaring me now.
Easy. A very special guest. I mean, special in the best way possible. Mr. Wayne Powers. So Wayne is going to be doing his Christmas show for Actors Theater of Indiana, celebrate the holidays with ATI. And Wayne is one of our headliners.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know.
No pressure,
It's
though,
a
right?
heavy word.
Yeah, it is.
But I,
Start out right with the heavy stuff.
I think you can handle it.
All right, I'll do my best is all I can do.
Well, listen, you're 75%. It's fine by me. But so thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Great to come and visit.
Yeah, absolutely. And the show, let's just, I'll say it again at the end of the podcast, but the show is next week.
Yeah, the 13th and 14th,
Yes.
Wednesday and Thursday, 2 nights.
Two
nights
nights
only.
Yeah, that's it. 2 nights only at the Studio Theater at the Center. And,
Not a bad seat in the house.
No.
I love that space.
Not a dry one either.
It's a great.
So, you know,
It's a
after you
great-
sing a few songs, weeping, thinking of home.
No, we're going to be
Christmas.
joyful.
No.
We're going to be joyful.
No, of course. Yeah. It's going to be right over at the Studio Theater, our home, and that's going to be turned into a nice little nightclubish cabaret, Christmas trees.
Yeah.
Nice little decor. And I'm excited.
It'll be
to see what it's
a
going to
fun
look
show.
like.
And it's more than, what I'm doing is more than just like a Christmas show.
Yeah.
We're incorporating that, but
Yeah.
I'm really celebrating 3 things. The 3 wise men. No, just kidding. But 3 things.
Bringing your-
And so we're doing the holidays, of course.
Right,
So
sure.
we've got some wonderful holiday songs.
Sure.
Some that you know, and some you may not have ever heard before. And then I know one that you've probably never heard before that we're going to do.
Don't tell me.
And
Because I'll be there.
all right.
I'll be
And then we're celebrating the Great American Songbook in general,
Which is
which is
always-
my playground.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where I live.
Yeah.
And then we're celebrating the 12th, which is the day before Tuesday, is actually Frank Sinatra's 108th birthday.
Yeah. He looks good.
He looks good. He hasn't been singing so good lately. I mean, but 108th birthday. Can you imagine that?
Jesus.
Really?
Oh my God.
I don't know. It's like I don't know where the time goes.
Exactly. Well, that's true because he pass away in the 90s, didn't he?
He didn't make it to the millennium.
Yeah, right. But he
Yeah.
made it pretty far with
He
the
made
kind of
it-
living he did, I'll
Yeah,
tell you.
he did a lot of living.
Woo!
And he recorded in his years, he did over 1,200 recordings,
Yeah.
1,200 songs.
Well, starting with the big bands.
That's
I
a
mean,
lot, yeah.
imagine, right?
A lot.
With Glenn, starting
A
with
lot.
Tommy. What was he with? Tommy Dorsey or?
Tommy Dorsey.
And
He was also with Harry James.
that was a great trumpet player right there.
Terrific.
That's like
yeah.
one of the best trumpet players in
No
like,
kidding.
like ever.
Class act.
Like ever.
And and
Yeah.
Sinatra, went through all that, and really was a trailblazer, a pioneer in having. It used to be the band featuring in small letters whoever the vocalist is,
Right.
and the recordings would be the band would play, and the vocals
right.
would do one chorus, and then the band would play out. So he turned it around, and that was really him. He was a pioneer in that. Him and Bing Crosby as well.
That was his, of course,
And they were both, idols, teen idols.
Right, I know. Well, that's what.
It was like Rudy Valley and
Yeah,
Bing
and
Crosby,
I know when like those big bands, you're right. They were the star, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And the leader of the band was
Absolutely.
the star.
Glenn
But
Miller, Tommy
everybody started
Dorsey,
going gaga goo goo over him.
Yep. Yeah.
So.
Bobby Soxers.
Oh God, right? So I'm sure the band leaders were like, "Hey,
Yeah.
this is not a." If they were smart, they'd be like,
A friend of
"Okay,
mine
you
who's
know,
passed away
this isn't
now,
a bad
his
thing."
name was Freddie Stewart. He had the unenviable job of replacing Frank Sinatra when Sinatra left the band.
Was moving on. Yeah,
How
right.
do you do that?
I know.
How do you, impossible.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but we're doing a celebration of Sinatra's songbook, And again, we're going to do some of the songs that you've known and will come to expect
Yeah, of course.
in our show. But we're also doing, I'm digging, into the archives and got some really wonderful songs that you may not have heard that
Yeah.
Sinatra
Well, I
did
think
and
that's
recorded.
interesting. I mean, it makes it interesting. It's not
Yeah.
just your typical,
Yeah.
we're going to hear this guy sing. You
Yeah,
know, I mean,
yeah.
you
No, it's-
you got the credentials, number one. You know what I mean? And you've been doing this, doing this a pretty long time. I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
you know,
over 50 years.
right.
Yeah.
And so I think you got it down.
Well, the whole thing with
know?
Sinatra is, there's a lot of Sinatra tribute artists. I
Yes,
call them.
absolutely.
And you could throw a rock and hit 12 of them.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's not me. I'm not.
Right.
I'm not trying to do Sinatra. I was,
You're paying tribute, but in
well,
your
but
way.
I was profoundly influenced by him,
Of course.
and so I love doing his songbook. But if he will forgive me, I do it my way.
Right.
So,
Right.
but
But I think that's better.
well, it is because
I
it's
mean,
it's
you're
truth.
not
It's-
imitating.
It's
You're
authentic. No,
you're paying
I'm
paying tribute. You're
yeah.
you're you. You know, you're
Yeah,
Wayne.
I have to be.
What right? I mean, who else? When
Yeah.
you're doing stuff like that,
Yeah.
you have
Well,
to
no,
be you.
it's like in acting or anything else. Truth is what you go for.
Yeah.
And you can't create anything unless there's truth there.
That's right. I agree.
Carmen McRae.
Oh,
What?
it's one of my favorites.
Mine too.
Oh my God.
Well, I've told this story
Oh, my
before,
God.
and if you've heard it, stop me. But back in the 1970s, I was in Hollywood, and I was working for Henry Mancini in those days.
Right.
And Carmen McRae, I always loved. Out of the, there's the great female jazz vocalists, Sass, Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, Dinah Washington,
Yes.
and Carmen McRae.
Yeah.
Out of those four, each of them brilliant. I mean, Ella, a human musical instrument. I mean,
right.
unbelievable. I've seen it, saw her
Right.
live. I mean, it's astounding.
Yeah.
Sass, incredible. What an amazing,
Yeah.
But only one of those four could make me cry, and that was Carmen.
Yeah.
Because Carmen really got into the lyric. And she was a brilliant musician. She was an incredible pianist, as you know.
Yeah. I got hooked on her in high school.
Yeah.
A good friend
Well-
of mine, he loved her. His parents loved her, and he's
Yeah.
like, "You should listen to this, Cindy."
She's brilliant.
And I was like, "Who is this woman?" I had no idea. I was in high school, right? I got totally hooked and just listened to this one.
It was a tribute to your good taste.
Over and over,
Yeah.
and God, I love she does that Secret Love. She
Yeah.
starts, and then she goes into the jazz version of it,
Yeah.
right? Oh God,
But she's brilliant. She's a brilliant musician, and
Yeah.
she was a tough cookie
Yeah.
in life. I mean,
Yeah.
she was a tough kid, really a tough cookie.
Yeah.
She fired musicians on the stand. I mean, amazing. But so I'm working for Henry Mancini, and I wrote. I got into ASCAP when I wrote
Yep.
the lyrics to a movie theme. It was Lana Turner's second to last movie, I think. It was
Okay.
called British Sweet Love, and I wrote the lyrics to the theme song.
Okay.
And Carmen wanted to record it. So she was playing at Laney Kazan had taken over the old Playboy Club in Century City, and Carmen was playing there for a week.
Yes.
So I called her and made an appointment. I said, she said, well, come down and you just come, and come to my dressing room,
Right.
before the show. And so I spent a week every night. I'm sitting on the floor of Carmen McRae's dressing room like a little kid.
Right.
Because
love
there was
that
only
stuff.
one chair in there, So I'm on the floor, I'm in my 20s,
Oh, sure.
and she wanted to talk about this song that I wrote, and there was one phrase in there that she didn't like. She said it was cliche. She said, "This is you nailed the lyrics, but this is cliche. This is beneath the rest of the song." And she was, and when she talked, she was a powerful woman.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to figure it out. And I'm in my 20s. I don't know what the heck I was doing. I couldn't figure it out. But I spent a week talking to her. But
Yeah.
as we would talk about a lot of things. And one of the things that she told me that I always kept with me was, and I'll clean this up for you. 'Cause
Well, you don't
we have a
clean it
mixed
up for me,
audience.
but for viewers.
For the audience. So she said, whether you're singing, because she knows a singer, and whether you're writing, whether you're performing, she said, you just remember one thing. If it ain't the truth, it ain't worth effing with.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I went,
Right.
and I've kept that with me always because it's a reality check.
Right.
You don't fake it.
No,
you know?
you can't because
You can't phone
because
it
you'll
in.
you'll be found out.
Yeah.
To, you know, and how
and
could
it's-
that feel good?
And it's
You know, it doesn't-
unrewarding as an artist.
Doesn't feel good. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's that connection.
Yeah.
That, you know, so you always go to your center of truth.
Yes.
And you can put it through a filter, you know, of a character or a lyric
absolutely.
or whatever. But that's why, you know, I
Yeah.
can't sing just any song. You know, I've been singing since I was 16.
Yeah.
And I can't sing just any song. I have to be able to get behind the lyric in some way.
Yeah.
And not only love the melody,
Yeah.
but I have to be able to, the lyric,
Well, you ask yourself why you like it. Why? Why?
and what is
you
it
know?
that I want to communicate?
Yeah.
And where do I want to go emotionally? Where do I want to take you as a listener?
Yeah.
Where do I want to connect? How do I want to connect with the musicians?
Oh,
And what do we want to, you know,
absolutely.
there's so many elements,
Yeah.
but it all has to be founded in the truth,
Yeah.
you know?
I agree with you 100%. I mean, as being in the bit, yes, you have to, or else it means nothing.
Yeah.
It just means nothing.
And it's
You're
not
right.
rewarding
it's not
either.
fulfilling. Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, it's not fulfilling as an artist.
See
at
what
all.
you're going to say. See what you're going to get here next week.
a bunch of talk.
all
here.
this package, and then he's going to sing.
Oh, I can't
Hey,
wait.
you have some good guys behind you. Fred,
Fred Withrow on bass,
great bass player.
acoustic bass,
Great
he's
bass player.
magnificent.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
Ken Farry
Yeah.
on piano.
Yeah.
And Chelsea Huey.
Chelsea.
on.
she's very good. Yeah.
she's terrific.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
yeah.
and so it's a great trio, and we really like playing together.
Yeah. That's I
And
know.
it-
It
you know,
needs to be a
it's,
little show.
it's that connection, you know.
Yeah.
Because music to me is a lot of it is what's between the notes.
Yeah.
That's why when I record, I always record live in the studio. Everybody playing together. Normally,
Yeah.
a lot of recordings
I
are
know.
done. You know, you
You-
put
you
the
put
rhythm
the-
track down first,
yeah.
then you put the vocals, then you
Yeah.
put the horns
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
I do, all together. And Sinatra did it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he would be right in the room. He was another musical instrument, and that's
Yeah.
the way you have to be.
Well, it is an instrument,
Well, I am.
you
I
know?
play the human voice.
Right.
That's what I
we
do.
all do. That's our
Yeah.
that's our instrument. You
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
And it's people don't think about it that way. A lot of people that aren't in the business, they're like, "You're singing, yeah, but it is our instrument.
Absolutely.
That is what it is, and you got to take care of it. You're not going to throw your bass down the stairs.
Nope.
You know, you're not
Nope,
going
you're
to
right.
kick your drums in, except if you're in the Who
Yeah.
back in the day. But let me ask you something. So
Sure.
you are here in Indiana now,
I am.
right?
Yeah.
So where do you hail from?
Originally from New York.
Okay.
But I've lived all over, you know. I'm like
Yeah.
dog droppings. I've been everywhere.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like, you know, I've lived in London. I've lived in 20 years in Los Angeles.
Yeah, right.
That's where I had my television career.
Right, we
you
did
know.
all the TV. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
St.
yeah.
Louis.
Yeah.
I was in St.
Oh,
Louis.
that's a nice city.
St.
Not
Louis
bad.
is a great city.
Yeah.
I went to school there, and I stayed there doing a nightclub act.
Okay.
And I wound up doing radio and television, you know,
Yeah.
on the news, and
Yeah.
it was great. I loved St. Louis. Great people.
Yeah, I've worked there.
Terrible weather in August because it's
That's
so humid.
when I was-
Mississippi Valley.
I was there and I was doing a show there in August.
But I
It
grew
was
up. We
so
were
hot.
very poor, and I went to college. I was the first one to go to college in my family, and I was the first one to leave town. You know, from the suburbs of New York.
Were you in upstate? Where were you?
Well, lower Westchester County, right
Oh,
on,
yeah.
on the mainland,
Yeah.
facing Long Island, a
Yeah.
little town called Mamaroneck.
yes, of course.
Do you know it?
Well, I'm from New Jersey.
Oh,
and
okay.
New York, so yeah.
So yeah, it's a
Yeah.
you know New Rochelle. I was
Of
born in New
course,
Rochelle,
yeah.
and New Rochelle is where Rob and Laura Petrie lived
right.
on the Dick Van Dyke Show. So, but I grew up. You know, we had a Buster Crabbe who was you know I used to see him all the
Oh,
time. He
yeah.
lived there. Jonathan Winters was my dearest friend. I grew up. I spent
He
my,
was good. He was a nut,
I spent my
like in the
whole-
best way.
Well, in the
like-
worst way too.
Yeah.
He got put away a few times.
I know that. Yeah.
Well, Jonathan was like a dear friend for my whole life. You know, I mean, all through, you know, when I performed with my band out in L.A., he used to come all the time.
Oh, my God.
And the thing about Jonathan was, there's a lot of things about Jonathan. Let's just face it.
Yeah.
Jonathan was a genius, but what I used to love to do, he would come in. I had a lot of because I was in television,
Right.
you know, doing nightclubs and
Yeah.
radio and whatever. I had a lot of people in the business would come to see me perform, and I stole an idea from Louis Prima, you know, who I adored.
Yeah, he's another good one.
But he always did in Vegas. He would do a late night show, later than anybody else's show, so that all the other people, the performers, when you finish performing, you can't go home. You got to unwind. So
Yeah.
they would come to his show. So his late shows were a who's who. I mean, Sinatra would be, I mean, everybody would be there.
Yeah, because they never slept.
So in LA, of course not. So in LA, I did a late, we couldn't do it as late as you would do in Vegas, but I always did a late show on Friday and Saturday nights, especially Saturdays. And so I had a lot of, celebrities and singers and actors and comedians that I knew, and they would all be there, all my buddies. And so I would always, from the stage, I get to a point where you acknowledge the celebrities in the audience, and you let them take a bow, and you give them that courtesy, which is very nice. Yeah. And the rest of the audience enjoys seeing that, and they get to, it's fun, and it's a courtesy. Yeah. I never did that with Jonathan. I'd introduce everybody else in the audience, and leave Jonathan out. And then I would walk back up on stage, and I'd say, but I said, it's nice to have celebrities here. I said, but I've often found that if you just go out and talk to anybody, just pick anybody, you often find a very interesting person. I'll show you what I mean. I go out and go to Jonathan's table, and I go, sir, what is your name?
He'd probably say,
we could go anywhere.
Yeah,
well, you never know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
When we'd be at a party or something, or we used to go antiquing together, in these big flea markets.
Oh my God.
And you go to the first booth, and Jonathan put on a Mountie hat, and that was it. He had to do 20 minutes, and then he'd yell at me for not pulling him out of there.
Right. Right.
But I would grab any cylindrical object, and that was a microphone,
right.
And I'd interview him.
Yeah. Yeah.
My first wife when we had babysitters for my children. Whenever we had a new babysitter, she would have a little ritual she would go through. She said, now, you should tell them, this is the emergency number. You go through all of that.
Yeah.
But then she would say, now, Mr. Powers has some very unusual friends. So if someone calls and you ask, who it is, and they say it's God, just take a message. Because Jonathan would call up. He would be, anyway, Rembrandt. You never know who he's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
his mind was, you could tell even on some of the interviews on Johnny Carson and stuff. Come out dressed up as whatever. And
well, the famous one where he came out on Jack Parr's show with twigs in his hair. He said, who are you? I'm Spring. He was Spring. He was not only he was a season.
Yeah, I think I always enjoyed him. I always thought he was absolutely hilarious. As a kid, I was just like, this guy is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's all those people that you grew up with, and they all were on those talk shows when I was a kid and everything, but
talk shows were very different then.
Very different.
When we had a dinner for Jack Parr, who I adored.
Yeah.
And we're talking about it, and Jack said to me, he said, you got to remember, Wayne, he said, when I was doing the Tonight Show, never once did I have anyone on who was there to promote anything or plug a book, a movie, or TV.
Right.
No.
Right.
I brought people on who were good conversationalists.
Right.
And so it was like you had good conversationalists sitting in your room, Oscar Levant and, all these incredible personalities.
He was great
and
too.
Jonathan Winters. And these were really Elsa Maxwell and, all these incredible people that you would never be on a talk show now. They would never be on a talk show. You couldn't get them on.
And there was entertainment, and it was such entertainment,
too. Oh, absolutely. He had Bobby Kennedy on after JFK's assassination. Robert Kennedy came on, and there's a DVD set out there that you ought to get, the Jack Parr show. It's a Jack Parr collection. Yeah. There's incredible moments. He had Nixon on playing the piano, and incredible. But the kind of thing that you would never see today because it's all so slick today.
Yeah.
And this was, again, there was truth there. Jack Parr walked off his show. He would cry. He would get,
Same with, there was, the people would walk off. I remember one. But it was, you're right, it was more raw.
Yeah.
It was a little more raw, which is great. You know what I mean? When things get too overproduced, to me, too overproduced, okay, is what I call it. It's too much for me.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It puts up a barrier. It's for a viewer, for an audience, when something is so slick and so so contrived, you're receiving as an audience, you don't let it in as deeply because
Right.
subconsciously you're suspicious of it
Yeah.
because it's not genuine.
Right. Right.
And so it's the same with music. You know, all this electronic music, and it becomes
Yeah.
there's no blood pulsing through it.
Yeah.
There's no soul to it. There's no heart to it. It's just electronic stuff, and
Yeah.
we can enjoy it, but we don't let it in as deeply. It's like the difference between watching a television show on network television, and you get really into this television show, drama or whatever. Then the commercial comes on. You're still watching it, but you're not letting the commercial
No.
in as
No,
much.
no, of course
Why?
not.
Because you know that they're trying to
You know
sell
what
you
it is.
something.
They're selling you. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
you don't trust it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we recognize something as human and truthful, we open ourselves up to it,
Right.
and now we can enjoy it more.
Yeah.
You know,
And live theater and live especially,
theater,
of course.
especially.
There's nothing better.
No, you can
than-
see the same show 10 times,
then-
and each time is different.
Exactly. I mean, I didn't notice that last time. I didn't see that last
Yeah.
time. That's different
Well,
tonight.
it might have been
You know,
different last time.
Maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
But even if it's set, you're never gonna do the same thing twice. I mean, it's
Well,
just
no, but even you
know.
know, as an actor,
Yeah.
you know that you can be doing the same blocking, you can be doing essentially the same approach to the lines,
of course.
but if you are in the moment, then it's going to come out how it comes out.
Right. Right.
And and if you are in the moment, your response, and then now it's multiplied by whoever you're in the scene with.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Now their reactions, and so there's like a snowball effect, and,
Right.
and a scene can go off in an interesting
yes.
way.
Yes. I mean, that's what's so great, about obviously about the performing arts.
Yeah.
And live. And
Oh, so you
theater.
like the performing arts, do you?
Well, it's touch and go with me, but so let me ask you. So you grow up in up there in upstate near
Well, it's not
Westchester.
upstate. It's downstairs. It's right outside of the Bronx.
Westchester. So
Yeah.
Westchester, yeah, where I worked at God, there was a good theater there, and they've closed, of course. Yeah. So, and then you went on. You like anybody. We start working. You know what I mean? But what made you hit L.A.? What made you go out there?
Well, I was in St. Louis, and I was doing theater. I was doing talk radio, and I was doing television. I was doing the TV news. I was doing entertainment stories on the NBC station.
Okay.
There, and movie reviews and all that kind of stuff. And I did a show, so who do you have to go to bed with to get your name out of the Samuel French edition kind of show. It's called Not With My Daughter.
Oh, Jesus.
A dinner theater show that I actually am in the Samuel French edition because it was the first production of
Yeah.
it. And Jim McCrell from Celebrity Sweepstakes, he was the
Okay.
host of Celebrity Sweepstakes. They brought him in, and I was the local star, and he was the national star.
Right.
And we did this, and it was a hit. And so the playwright was going to take it on tour. We're going to go to Oklahoma City. McCrell couldn't do it; he had to go back to his show. So they got Dick Sargent from Bewitched,
yeah.
the second husband on Bewitched.
Right. Yeah.
So he came in, and so I'm down in Oklahoma City for a month with Dick Sargent and doing that show there, and it was a great, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we became good friends. And he said, "What are you doing in St. Louis?"
Yeah.
He said, "You're a singer. You're a sketch comedian. You're a sitcom actor." He said, "You have to be. You can't even be in New York. You really need to be in Los Angeles." Well, as it turned out, my contract at the local NBC station was up, and actually it wasn't up. They fired me because that's another story altogether. And so the CBS station, KMOX, was interested in having me going over there, but they didn't want to give me any more money, and it was like, and so the lease was up on my townhouse, and I said, Dick Sargent was probably right.
Yeah.
And so I drove. I got my U-Haul, got my dog, and I drove out to. I didn't know anybody. I knew one guy out there. I knew Dick Sargent. I knew Jim McCrell was out there.
Yeah.
And then I knew one friend who I went to college with in the theater department.
Okay.
And so I stayed on his couch.
Oh, this is right, of course.
You know,
Yeah.
in a one-bedroom apartment, he and his
Yeah.
wife, and I'm on the couch with my dog, and a U-Haul parked out front.
And she's like, when is he getting out of here?
Yeah, well, exactly.
When is he leaving?
And I love them, and they love me, but I felt I was trying to find an apartment that would accept a dog.
Yeah.
I had a Siberian Husky in those days.
Out in L.A.?
Yeah,
Oh, God.
yeah, gorgeous dog.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and so I had to find an apartment, and so I did, and then I go to, you know, now what do I do? You know, what do I do now?
I'm
So-
off the couch.
So I do, you know, yeah.
I'm off the couch.
I got an
One,
apartment. Check. I got
Okay.
a place for a
Now
dog.
what?
I'm there. And so McCrell, I call him up and say, you know, you told me to call you when I came into town. You know, he said, well, come over to the house. You know, I said, okay. So I go over to his house, and you know, I've never been to California. You know, I mean, I grew up in New York. We had no money. I thought Atlantic City was the West Coast. You know, we didn't have anything.
Going down
you
to
know.
AC. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, so here I am in Hollywood, and I go up in the Hollywood Hills, and he's in this mansion, and you go through, and the maid answers the door, and oh yes, Mr. McCrell is out back, and you know, come back. So I go through this gorgeous home, and out the back, and there he is. There's a kidney-shaped pool with a jacuzzi in the indentation of the kidney. And I walk out there, you know,
Yeah, right.
and there he is in the jacuzzi on the phone getting a haircut.
Yeah.
And I said,
It could it be
"Hooray
more?
for Hollywood!"
Could it be more stereotypical almost, right?
It was
Could it be
incredible.
more?
It was incredible.
Oh, my God.
I said, "This is insane." So he waves me, you know, have a seat. He was on the phone, and he's talking on the phone.
Yeah.
And then he says, "Hold on a second." He said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And I said, well, gee, I was hoping I could come back here, you know.
Maybe take a swim. I don't know. Get my hair cut.
He said, I got the guy for you. He said, what time you want to see him? 1 o'clock. Okay. It was Henry Mancini on the phone,
Oh, God. Right.
who he worked for when he came from Texas.
Okay.
So here I have an appointment to meet Henry Mancini.
Right. You're just thrown right in. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I go and meet him, and we had a great time. I mean, you know, he was what a gentleman he was. You know, really a very special human being, incredibly talented,
Yes.
really.
Yes.
And so we had this really nice meeting. We seemed to get along, and then he sort of leans forward like it's, you know, the meeting is over, body language. And I go to get up. He goes, wait a minute, Wayne. He said, let me ask you one more question. He said, out of all the music that I've written, you know, over the years that you know of, he said, do you have a favorite?
Oh.
And I'm thinking to myself, holy cow, man, I'm going to blow this. What does he want me to say? You know, what's the right answer?
Jesus.
But, you know, truth. My dad always told me, you know, always tell the truth, you know, and so you always go back to truth. And so I said, well, Mr. Mancini, I said, I'll be honest with you. I said, I'm sure I don't know all the things you've written. I know a lot because I'm a fan. And I started naming all these songs, you know, Pink Panther and Baby Elephant Walk and Peter Gunn and Mr. Lucky
Peter
and
Gunn, that's a
Moon
good
River
one.
and, you know, I mean, Days of Wine and Roses. And,
Yeah.
I mean, you could go on forever.
Yeah.
And I said, but there's one tune that you wrote that whenever I hear it, the melody is so haunting to me, it literally gives me goosebumps. He said, he's looking, I said, it was a theme from a movie. And I said, it wasn't a big hit song or anything, but, you know, the lyrics were very nice, but it was just something about that melody, and that melody went all through the film. And he said, well, what was that? I said, it was called Two for the Road. And there's this long silence that seemed like a year, you know, it must have been like, 3 seconds. But he leans back and he said, that's my favorite.
Oh,
and I
come
went,
on.
bang, zoom, you know, I got this job.
You're in.
Yeah. And that's how I got a job for with Henry Mancini.
And
I
then
wound up
things just-
administering all of his music publishing. He gave me his old office
God.
at the corner of Sunset and Vine, 10th floor, overlooking the Hollywood sign. Johnny
Yeah.
Mathis is my neighbor. You know,
Yeah.
And I'm administering 12 music corporations. We had Bobby Gentry, Richard Harris, Livingston and Evans, all this. We had a chorus line, Marvin Hamlish and Ed Kleban.
Yeah.
I was the one who was getting all those songs recorded. You know, I got like Edie Gourmet to do What I Did for Love, and all these others. We got Sammy Davis to do I Can Do That, which was nobody was doing that song. I got Sammy to do it. You know, I can do that.
I know the whole score.
You know the score.
I've
Okay,
done the
I'm sure you
show.
do. I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
So I can do that.
Yeah.
Wayne Salento, who did that
Yeah,
in the original
Wayne.
cast.
Yeah.
He and I went to
Original
high school
Bobby.
together.
Yeah. Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First time he ever walked on a stage was in The Man Who Came to Dinner. I was Sheridan Whiteside, and he was John the Butler.
Oh, Jesus.
And then we did a musical. I was we did Little Abner. I was
Oh, my.
General Bull Moose.
Yes.
And he was just one of the dancers.
Talk about a show nobody does and will
nobody
probably
does.
ever do again.
Yeah.
But I've done it. I was
It's
in it
you know
years ago.
it was a real audience pleaser and a great show.
Oh, my God.
And
that
we
show.
had this is the 1960s.
Yeah.
Cindy, this is there was all kinds of stuff going on.
Oh, yeah.
And we had in our high school, I just love this. We had a white Daisy May and a black Abner.
No way.
Yes, we did. And we made that as a statement.
Yeah, good for that.
And it
that
was
teacher directed it. Good for that
very,
person.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm
good
very
for-
proud of that.
yeah,
And it was a
Yeah.
wonderful production,
Yeah.
and nobody had a problem with it.
Yeah.
Nobody, not
Yeah.
even in the 1960s.
Yeah.
Nobody had a
Well,
problem with it
and, you
because
know,
it was done with love. It was
Yeah.
just done.
Yeah.
We weren't pushing. We weren't jam. We
Right.
just laid it out there,
Yeah.
and we just did it like there was
God.
nothing wrong with
Right,
it.
right. And that show's a trip.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What's good for General Bull Moose is
Oh,
good
my
for the USA.
God. And
Yeah. Progress is the root of all evil was my big song.
what is that song? What's this? Come on.
The country's in the very best of hands.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
That's a good one.
The other guy sings, and he's the funny guy. He's funny, and he's singing about the
Mary and Sam?
yes, Mary and Sam. It's
That
one of
was-
his songs.
Oh.
It's one of Mary and Sam's songs.
Oh, he was great.
And,
Sammy Cade.
Oh God, that character's
what a
fantastic.
great-
Anyway, and
great. Stubby K.
still BK.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I don't know. Well, we were the women. We were like, put them back,
Yeah,
put them back
yeah, it's
the
a
way
great
they
show.
was, right?
Well, I did a
Oh,
lot of
Lee
shows
and
that
Rankin.
nobody does anymore, like
Well,
Little
they're-
Mary Sunshine.
they're not-
Rick Besoyan. Do you know
I
that
guess
one?
little.
That's a
No,
great
no,
show.
I don't.
That's
I don't know
great,
that show.
It was a great
that
show.
much.
1959.
No.
Rick Besoyan. It was a
Yeah.
great show.
I mean, they're the encore series will do stuff like that, or some of the I was with a off-Broadway company that would
Yeah.
bring those out, dig those up.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
Some of them are, now,
some of them
people
you
are
cannot,
so sensitive.
Well, you can't do some of
you
them
can't
now.
do some
You
of
just
them,
can't. But I think you could with Little Abner. There's nothing offensive about it.
No, there really isn't. And
There really isn't.
It was
I
such.
mean, it's all such. It's all just
Yeah.
tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
All
and
of it.
it's satire,
Yeah.
political satire,
Yeah.
which is very
Well,
relevant
hello,
today.
that always goes.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
there's
does,
that's never out of fashion
yeah.
ever.
We did Little Mary Sunshine. I was telling you, and I played. Oh God, what was his name? He was a dirty old man. Basically, is what he was. I always played old guys when I was a kid. I don't know why. Now I'm older. I want to play. I want to play
playing those guys?
I want to play a juvenile part now. It's like.
Oh my God.
So there's one tune in Little Mary Sunshine, and this girls' school, and he's I can't remember the character's name, but he's the lyric is think of me as your kind and loving uncle,
God.
giving a trinket here, a bauble there.
Yeah.
It's like eerie. I
Yeah,
mean, it's like
disgusting.
creepy. Yeah, it's really creepy.
Oh God. Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, listen, we got to wrap this up.
Oh my gosh.
But let me tell you, don't miss this man. Next week, Wednesday and Thursday. Okay.
Yeah, Wednesday and Thursday, 7:30.
7:30 curtain.
At the
Studio Theater,
which is awesome because if it's
yeah.
raining, if it's snow, you go right from the garage right into the theater.
That's right.
It's like
All
so
you have to do,
easy.
yep, that's right. That's what we always say. It's great.
Yeah.
You just park in the garage, walk right through the doors, and right down to the lobby. You don't have to get your feet wet or your head wet or anything.
Yep.
You're dry as a bone.
Yeah.
And until you go to the bar, which will be open. So
It better be open or I ain't showing up. I'll tell you that right now.
It better be. I know. But yeah, I think it's
That's
gonna
how you
be-
got me to do this
I
show.
just-
You
well,
told me the
we-
bar would be
we plied
open.
him. We plied him with some stuff. And he said, all right. 2 fingers of Jack in the glass.
Yeah.
Let it mix with the ice.
Per song. Thank you. That's all right.
So what you asked for that little table to put a glass on?
It's 2:45.
No, okay. So anyway, we could go on for days, but we won't. You want to catch more of this man, Wayne Powers, come to the show next week. December, what is it, 13th and 14th?
13th and 14th, Wednesday
Next
and
one,
Thursday.
You can-
But go online and get your
You can
tickets
go to
now because you can.
atistage.org or call the box office,
Yep, call the box office.
317-843-3800, and get your tickets. I think it's going to be a fantastic 2 nights.
Yeah, we're gonna have fun.
I think so too.
We're gonna have a lot of fun.
Yeah,
'Cause, in
yeah.
addition to the music,
Yeah.
you know me, I'm gonna be doing some shtick. And
Yeah, and you're going to weave
can't
some
stop me.
tales, and
Yeah.
everybody's going to swap some lies,
Yep.
and it's going to be awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you,
so
Cindy.
much,
Thanks for
Cindy
having me.
Collins. Lunch break with ATI, and we'll see you next Wednesday. We are doing a show next Wednesday.
And I'll see you next
podcast
Wednesday, too.
before, and he'll see you next Wednesday
in the
at
evening.
7:30. Thank you so much. Bye bye.